little technical difficulties, but we're good here. We made it.
Oh my gosh, the internet, it broke. What the
That's
heck
good
is
to
going
say
on
about
out there?
Buddy. Everyone good?
Is that say about it? Is that what you said?
That's what I think.
Yeah.
All right, sorry we're late, guys. Welcome the reboot. We're going to get right into it today. Quick introduction. I'm Brian Bracci, BNL Solutions, based out of Long Island, New York. And
Brandon Bowers, Eisner Upper Managed Technology Services, South Florida.
And Dave Groot with WinStar Technologies out of Culpeper, Virginia.
David Luft with LDD Consulting out of Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Okay. Today's topic is specific to our industry, vendor consolidation, M&A, acquisition, whatever you want to call it. I think we're not going to be agnostic here. Are we going to discuss what's
the
going
latest
on?
one, right?
Yeah. So, in our industry, I'll just say that in my business, I personally like to cherry pick the services and vendors that we use, rather than these companies being bought out and kind of monopolizing the industry, so to say, and leaving us with not much of a choice. But fortunately, we are very good at what we do. We know how to pick other vendors and products and services and change things around. But this is kind of going to be a discussion about specifically related to, we're going to talk about Datto being acquired by Kaseya, which has caused a lot of noise in our industry for a variety of reasons. So let's go.
All right. Can I ask a quick question? What I'm not aware of in that acquisition, is that the Autotask part of it as well?
I have to assume.
I think, they're
one and the
not
same
one
now,
company, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. So Datto and Autotask did a merger and acquisition, whatever, 2 years ago. And now Kaseya is buying that.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
That's some serious consolidation.
Yeah.
Well, and the same goes for the other side of the house, right? ConnectWise is buying everybody up. Kaseya is buying everybody up. And the problem that I've been seeing is, they're doing this, then they're going around and forcing longer term contracts. That was a very different situation that the industry was in, right? A lot of these businesses they were buying, they would sell you on, hey, you buy as much as you need. And they're kind of going against that. And I also find that ongoing development and roadmap type of things are just like stagnating and going nowhere after these acquisitions.
If I might say, and it probably won't come as any real big surprise to you folks, that the big players really are a problem. This is the conversation we're having, and for various reasons. But what makes them a problem is exactly what you said, Brandon. It's not so much that they're the monopoly or the larger picture. It's that they're trying to use that then for the benefit of venture capitalists and the mentality of those venture capitalists. You take a company like Microsoft, they're huge, they're large, money back in, right? Those folks are trying to continuously develop a better product and to continuously add more. They're doing community outreach, they're providing service, like that power and using it for something good. Where we're seeing with these other vendors is they're consolidating, and it's all about profit. It's all about board members and people making their money, and the decisions being made are not reflecting the benefit of the customer, us, or our customers. And Microsoft just did a big price increase as well, right? They forced us into longer term contracts. That's kind of a problem, but at least they went 1 year. There is a good side to it. They're putting some of that back into the community. And I'll stop talking because I'm not trying to monopolize this, but that seems to me to be the difference between the villains here.
Yeah, you were cutting out for a second, but just to, I want to mention, I think, where it cut out and what you were saying. The big thing is, yes, Microsoft did it, but Microsoft is continuously reinvesting in itself and adding value versus, we're getting products like IT Glue that was acquired, and you get 6 to 14 days of outages every single day. And like, when was the last major update to this product? Or whenever there is an update, they want a charge you for it now, right? It's an add-on product. So they're just really trying to wrench the gears anywhere they can to make a little bit of extra profit and kind of like alienate their partners. And I
Well,
feel like when is enough enough? Like,
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, that's I think the mentality is the benefit of the consolidation is that because I mean, look, let's just take we'll share the ugliness here. I mean, ConnectWise,
Yeah.
right? No love there. They wanted us to sign into a new agreement. They wanted us to sign a 3-year commitment, and they wanted us to have minimum commitments where if we increased the amount of business we were doing with them, those minimum commitments would continue to increase to match that spend. But if we decided to drop some of their services or if we lost a client, they would not let you come back down.
Right.
And if they would let you come back down, it was only in the event of losing a client. And so I don't know about you guys, but I'm not willing to wait until I've lost the client because they're not happy with the service that's being delivered by a vendor of mine. I'm going to go find another vendor and put the service in because my customer comes first. And that's what's important. But those kinds of companies are not worried about whether or not we stay in business
No.
because somebody
No.
else will come right behind there and
Right.
hang
Yeah.
their name
But
up.
what's
and
the
go and do
difference with an acquisition by another vendor, which is the case here, as
Mhm.
opposed to by a PE firm or angel investors that's where that recurring model comes from, right? That's their belief, the longevity.
Yeah, I mean, Kaseya, I guess, is not so much angel investor driven. Is that what we're
Right.
saying here?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So what's the difference there? I mean, so we know what it is, right, to us, and to the community. But where does this end? So they purchase a BCDR, backup disaster recovery company. Do they go after Barracuda and no, right? So now somebody else is going to do that. So we're going to be at a point where these companies are just going to be a one-stop shop
Mhm.
for the industry,
Well,
and
that's what they want to be.
that's
That's
what they want, exactly. But
yeah.
we
Mhm.
don't necessarily want that.
well,
Well,
the
that
idea is great because this is what they sell you on. They sell you on an integrated approach, right? All of their tools should be working together. They're supposed to be best in class. The issue goes back to
What do you? Yeah,
from my experience with these two major vendors and the acquisitions they do, it's just like after it happens, any new benefits sort of stop, and you don't see anything anymore. You don't see that reinvestment that you're hearing from Microsoft and that we're complaining about. And yeah, Jim mentioned Kaseya's PE backed, Kaseya and ConnectWise now, right?
well, ConnectWise
okay.
definitely.
Yeah.
So, so I guess they bought Datto, and I mean, like they took out an RMM competitor when they did that, right? Like that's what that consolidation is because Datto bought Autotask or Autotask bought Datto or they merged and Autotask is ConnectWise is one and only competitor, right?
Right.
And so now Kaseya owns that. Kaseya has their own VSA. They have their own BMS for their ticketing system. No different than ConnectWise bought Continuum, same thing, right? What are they doing? They're taking the competition out so that they can drive the market the way they want to. And again, that can be okay. I'm all about capitalism, and I think it's a wonderful thing, but it has to be done in a way that benefits everybody involved. And I'm not feeling like that's really the motivation. That's just my impression.
Especially when I see some of the bullying. I mean, when this stuff happened with Kaseya, I don't know if anybody's been looking at Reddit. I love the guys at Huntress. Did anybody see the post
No.
from Huntress? So, just super quick. Basically, when that announcement was made about Kaseya, someone from Huntress responded on a Reddit thread with just a sad face. That's all
Yeah.
they posted.
Yeah.
And apparently, there was this big backlash from the Datto marketing team or Kaseya marketing team, and they got with Huntress and they said basically, uh, it, not a ultra clear way, but they were saying, hey, you guys are possibly not going to get a great location in the booth if this doesn't get deleted. We don't want to see stuff like this from you guys. And then the guy from Huntress actually posted this up, and then
Well, I'm
It
so
started
happy to hear
escalating.
that. Yeah, because
Yep.
yeah,
But like
that
this is
that
what they
gives me a
can do
lot of
when this
respect for the
happens,
guy
right?
at Huntress. Yeah.
You know,
I mean, that's exactly what it is. I mean, that's the problem that this brings, right? It like I guess it pays to get breached. I mean, that's what we're talking about here, right? Like Kaseya had a big breach, and 2 years later they own Datto. Hey, okay, $6
Yeah, but
billion.
the issue with Kaseya is that there was a vulnerability that they didn't address.
That they knew about for
Right.
quite some time, which
Right.
is
So that's
quite often the case in a breach. So
So-
they're no better than anybody else. And now they're this big powerhouse of a company and they own all kinds of stuff that's not going to be secure.
they're buying
It
our
makes-
tools out, right? IT Glue. They have, I think, ID Agent, right?
yeah, but
Mhm.
what about Threat Locker? Like, I don't want that to roll up under some of these other
I sure hope
vendors.
they don't go there.
Huntress, same thing. Like, we want some separation too, right?
Yeah,
Because we don't want some of the vendors that we're using to check our other tools and products from a security standpoint to now all of a sudden be owned by the same vendor.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm going to kind of try and play that, necessity is the mother invention game, right? Like, okay, so they suck up all the vendors. Well, that just means somebody like us who's talented and skilled who can do that comes up with a better product, right?
Yeah.
right.
And that does happen. It makes space or room for somebody else to come in and say, hey, we're not the big guy, right? Come with us because we're safe. We'll give you that month to month and we'll give you that, whatever. So I don't know. I mean, again, the sad part is it's about the quality of the product and it working for the client. And that's what is suffering when they stop development.
Well, that's what Brandon was saying earlier. Is that with IT Glue, we had a product that was great. I mean, now
Yep.
granted, they Kaseya took them over. I'm assuming the infrastructure was the same from IT Glue, right? I don't think unless they moved, data centers and all this other stuff.
They
But
didn't move data centers. They added a little Kaseya icon. They did do that
right.
on IT.
Immediately.
Very, very important. Very
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. The K, it's on everything.
So and these vendors know that there's competition, right? I mean, there's I've spoken to a bunch of people, and there's a lot of noise out there. I personally, and I don't care. I reached out to Datto today and said it's been a great run, guys, but I'm done.
Yeah, really.
It's
Well, that's the concern. Like, what happens now? Like, okay, Datto, right now they're like they just had a promotion, right, at the end of March. If you sign a 3-year commitment, we'll give you a free backup device. Well, what does that sound like? A 3-year commitment, right? And then what's going to happen? Are you going to have a year option? Are you going to have, or is it going to be only 3-year?
Well, they always had the 3-year options, Datto, and they would
No,
run
I know,
these
but
promos. But
in most of Kaseya's approach, they
You're right.
fight very hard for a 36-month contract. And if they negotiate a lesser time, then the price goes up. Right. So they will do it, but not easily.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of turmoil that gets thrown around with this stuff, and it doesn't end well. I mean, look at when Dell and SonicWall or whoever took over, that Dell took over SonicWall, it was a shit show. And now it's back to SonicWall. It's like they gave it back. I don't know what happened, but it's like because there was quality of service, support, the order process. There were just things that weren't working. They weren't, and I don't know what happened there, but other than firsthand experience, what do? You go to a competitor, you start buying something else, and then now it's back to what it was. So,
what was the name of the I want to say it was like Judge Dredd or something, where Taco Bell was the only company in the future. Do you remember that?
No.
Come on, there's some future. I'm telling you guys, and Taco Bell owned everything. They were the only franchise in the whole world, and everything was owned by Taco Bell. Yep. It was, I got to remember what movie that was. Somebody out there knows. I'm telling you.
Don't know that one.
But that's the K. That's what that made me think of, right? Like the little K on the webpage, it's going to be everywhere because the Taco Bell logo was everywhere on this show.
So I don't know about you guys, but what I think a position we're going to find ourselves in is looking at those vendors that we have left and kind of like looking at it like, okay, who's next, right? And really I don't like to keep all my eggs in one basket. I'll say that again. It's just
I agree.
not something that I'm comfortable with because of, again, David talking about breach, right? I mean, then now not only, and maybe some of my clients had Datto, some of my clients had, I may have different products and services for different clients, but now when there's a breach and I have every client under this one vendor, I mean,
Well, no
my
matter
risk and liability goes up, right?
also your ability to get any kind of resolution to issues, right? I mean, like if it's all under one roof and you're buying it, but the ticketing isn't working, well, what do you
Right.
do? You're going to go buy another everything involved just to get a better ticketing and keep it. Like, you can't. It's not. It takes away the power of putting together the pieces of the puzzle that fit the need of the client the best.
What Jim mentioned is basically what you mentioned earlier, David, which is
Yeah.
he put the silver lining of consolidation is it's going to open up a door for new competition. So definitely, what it actually opens up for me is just, hey, it's just time to reevaluate some of our stack again and see if there's anything better out there. Like, we typically do that already, but it just brings it up
Accelerated the
to the
process.
forefront even faster. Like,
Right.
do we really want to renew for 3 years with these guys now? Let's reevaluate what's
And how
best
about
in class for these different
on a
things.
bigger scale? Because now Kaseya's, customer base just got that much bigger, right?
Mhm.
And then what happens when there is that issue, or a bad deployment
Well,
for
their
Kaseya or
support is
something?
already horrendous. I
Are
can't
they
imagine it
able?
could get any worse.
But how are they going to be able to support that when that happens on such a much larger scale now than what they had? They can't. So
As long as it stays separate, I mean, there shouldn't be too much
well,
major impact. So if you're using Datto, as long as the support is still going through Datto, it'll probably be okay. But as soon as
well, I
Kaseya
think
starts
it's going to be,
consolidating that, it's
yeah.
going to be scary.
Well, I mean, again,
I
if
think it's
they're
Cadato now. It's Cadato.
it's
Kadato.
Cadato,
Yeah.
Or
Kaseya,
going to be Cadaver.
Kaseyo. Yeah, they're definitely not going to be motivated to make it good for us. That's
Right.
the problem.
Yep.
And therefore
Well,
not for our
we'll be
customers.
together next week, guys, right? We could talk a little more about this and talk to the vendors directly and get some
Well,
insight.
the good news for me is I've been on this path for a year now because I
Right.
saw it coming with ConnectWise. So,
Right.
um,
And kudos to you because you've been aggressively fighting.
I've been screaming, guys. I've been
Yep.
jumping up and down. I really have. But
Yep.
that's usually what I'm doing about everything. So,
Right.
I promised my wife I would stay calm on this here reboot today.
And I think it's good that we remind everybody next week we're not going to be on, right? Because we're all going to be in Nashville. So
Yeah, we're gonna be.
we'll
at
see
a
everybody in
The,
2 weeks.
the other thing that's a bit of a concern with the consolidation is if you switch, there's that migration cost. And
Oh,
if
yeah,
you
it's
stay with
It's
them,
painful to move. It's painful.
and
to
if you
move.
stay with them, there's that cost too, which somehow this is gonna ultimately impact our customers as well at some level. And it's not even they're gonna
think
blame
Well,
us for it,
this is
but it's nothing
impacting
we can do.
all industries. Like Adobe is doing this.
everybody is.
Microsoft is doing it.
I'll tell
They're all
you,
doing it.
I mean, look, there's obvious reasons for that. Aside from the investment perspective, right? There's workforce issues. There's,
Yeah.
there's the need to automate more processes, to consolidate all things so that you have, those companies when they're being bought, they're buying that product, but not necessarily the workforce, or they're taking in that small workforce and adding to theirs, and it's helping to build out everything they need long term.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different reasons, but and it doesn't have to be all bad. I just don't see it being too great right now.
Right. Okay.
All right, we got to cut it out of
All
here.
right. Yeah, we're gonna cut out. Sorry again that we were a little late today. I had a little difficulties getting this thing started. So we'll see you guys. I'll see you guys
weeks.
next week, and we'll see
Tomorrow.
our audience in
a couple of weeks. Yeah,
right,
maybe
guys.
we'll pop in for a minute from now. I'll see you later, guys.
See you later,
Take
guys.
care, guys. Bye. Yeah, I'll see you guys. I'm dropping now.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, I can't end it. I think we're stuck here forever. You and
Oh
I.
my goodness.